Hi, I'm Jennifer Hummel, and the author that I chose for this particular project was Ezra Jack Keats. He was born on March 11th, 1916, and was given the name Jacob Jack Ezra Katz. He was the youngest, or in this case, third child to a poor Jewish family in Brooklyn, New York, and he was definitely known for his artistic ability, even as, at a very early age. In fact, at 8 years old, he was paid 25 cents to paint a mural, um, or excuse me, a sign for a local store. And so um, his dad always kind of hoped that he would then become a sign painter. He did have a very huge love for fine arts and was a very good student in art. Uh, in fact, by the time he was in junior high school, he had been awarded medals for his drawings and his artwork. Um, as far as supporters, his parents were huge supporters. However, they did live during the Depression, and so they did suffer a lot of hardship financially. Um, and so his dad always kind of hoped that he would um, really look more towards like a practical skill a rather than an artist. He always kind of told him, you want me to tell you about a starving artist. And so, however, secretly, his dad was a huge supporter of Keats's artwork. And in fact, when he was graduating high school in January of 1935, he was awarded the senior class medal for excellence in art. Um, but his dad wasn't there to see it because he died actually just the day before he graduated. And it was then, um, that as he looked through his dad's things, that he saw that his dad was actually a silent supporter of his, um, and was very proud of his hard work in his artwork. Um, Ezra did receive 3 scholarships to attend art school. However, because of his family's financial situation, he did not attend art school. He went to work painting murals um, to help support his family. In 1943, Ezra left and joined the Army. There, he actually was noted for designing different camouflage patterns. Um, and then after the war in 47, he actually changed his name from Jacob Jack Ezra Katz to Ezra Jack Keats. And he did that really because of the discrimination that he experienced in the war and in World War II. And so that's that's a big reason why he changed his name. Um, he always wanted to go to Europe and study art and study painting. And he actually was able to do that in 1949, and was there for just a short time. Um, and then upon returning home, he did become a commercial artist. And that's kind of where he started being noticed for his artwork. And that's when, I guess I should say, some of his artwork started showing up in publications, things such as Reader's Digest and even the New York Times book reviews, um, as well as others. Um, so, um, in fact, he got his first big break when he was asked to do the cover illustration for a novel for Elizabeth Riley. And then, of course, in the years to follow, he wrote his first book, or he co-authored it with Kat Chair, and the name of that book was My Dog is Lost. Um, a couple of years later, he actually was invited to write his first book on his own, and that's when the character Peter kind of came into play. This picture of a young African boy that he had found in Life magazine, clear back um, in 1940, was a young boy who had, it was photographs of a young boy who had had injections. And there was just something about this picture that really gave him a lot of inspiration. And he actually cut those pictures out of the magazine and hung them there near his desk where he worked. And so when he was asked to write his own first book, he actually used Peter, this young African American boy, as an um, as the main character or the protagonist in the story. And that book was known as The Snowy Day. And that is actually the book that I am going to read to you today. Um, it's actually one of the books that I did this semester, and I absolutely loved the book. I loved the illustrations in the book, the style that he used. He used a collage like style. Um, he used different fabrics. He used splatter paint. He used homemade stamps for the snowflakes, but just some of the unique collage-like styles that he used really drew me in as I read the story. But I also one thing that I looked at and really noted, and it's kind of hard to see, but because and that's the other thing, he was kind of noted for having an African American as the main character in this story, and kind of set a precedence there. And one thing that I kind of read as I was looking through and doing my research for this project is, he said, I always had African American children like in the background, but never in the forefront. And they should have been there all along. And I think he did something really great um, in that aspect. So again, the book that I'm going to read is The Snowy Day. One morning, Peter woke up and looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, crunch, crunch. His feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointed out like this. He walked with his toes pointed in like that. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks, and he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. It was a stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. He thought it would be fun to join the big boys in the snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not yet. So he made a smiling snowman, and he made angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber and climbing up a great big tall heaping mountain of snow and slid down and slid all the way down. He picked up a handful of snow and another still. He packed it round and firm and put the snowball in the pocket for tomorrow. Then he went into his warm house. He told his mother all about the adventures while she took off her wet socks. And he thought and thought and thought about them. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snow wasn't there, and he felt sad. While he slept, he dreamed that the sun had melted all the snow away. But when he woke up, his dream was gone. The snow was still everywhere. Now new snow was falling. After breakfast, he called his friend from across the hall, and they went out together in the deep, deep snow. The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. Again, this is just one of the stories that Peter was in. He had several in the series. One of them was Pet Show. Um, and Ezra Keats just used a really great style. He he liked to imply rather than to give great detail in his stories because it allowed the reader to use their imagination and to kind of um, bring life to the story. Um, and again, my author was Ezra Jack